Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode. Yes, I did actually win $500 from Yamanon on the rowing machine. So now I've got the clickbait part. I guess I'll go exchange this money for some pounds. But today's video we're going to talk about how I actually won this money and the workouts that were involved. So basically, it was through an online rowing competition called Road Royalty. It was my first one and I learned quite a few things. And so today, before I get into my 30k on the rowing machine, well, hopefully it'll be 30k. It'll be 2 hours on the machine and we should get over that. But before that, I'm going to be talking about a couple of the workouts that were involved in Road Royalty. So hopefully you guys can be prepared for next year and the Yam squad can get involved. So the first workout was a 2k, but it wasn't just a case of going flat out, doing a 2k, then submitting your score and see how you ranked. You actually got points for different parts of the 2k. So you had to set your screen up for 400 meter splits. So you had 5 400 meter segments in your 2k. So you got points for your fastest 400 meters, your fastest overall distance, your fastest 2k, and your fastest overall time. Did I forget to mention you could rest in between each 400 meters for as long as you wanted. So you could go as fast as you could for those 400 meters, combine your scores and see how they went. But that's kind of where the strategy comes in and where I didn't do very well at all. So what I figured out was that strategy was a huge part of this online rowing competition where I thought I could just go out and do a fast 2k and hope for the best. But the way it was structured, some people would do a fast 400, some people would do a fast 2k, some people would do a fast overall time. And then there were so many people involved in the rowing competition that you had to kind of choose your battles almost. But if you're fast enough, you could try and do all of those and get all the points. So I ended up not doing so well. My first attempt was actually, okay, I'm just going to do a 2k flat out, or at least as part of the program, and just submit the score. So even my sort of overall 2k score, it didn't put me anywhere very nicely because I think I did a 5:57, and so my 500 meter or my 400 meter split wasn't that fast, so it lost me a lot of points. My actual time of 5:57 wasn't very fast because people were able to do 400 meters with rest, and then my overall time was pretty good. I think that did me quite well because it didn't have any rest in it. But I didn't realize that you couldn't have no rest. You actually literally had to have some rest. So I had to redo it, and then that's where it kind of struggled a little bit because I'm training for Paris at this point and I'm throwing in random workouts here and there and I'm trying to boost the volume or boost the intensity up, and then we're throwing more intensity at it. So I was struggling a little bit there to find the best time to do the workouts. But regardless, we got it done, and I think I ended up second or third for this workout. And that's kind of where I sat, or that's kind of where everyone sat for the rest of the online competition, because there were so many points available for this first workout, which you don't know what workout's coming up next, so no one really knew what to do. But for the next one, I'm not going to take anything for granted. I'm just going to go flat out, obviously if the schedule works and if I'm able to do that. On to the next workout. I'm sitting in second place. Yeah, sitting in second place, and it was a really good one. I really like this one. So it was 500 meters, 400 meters, 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. There was 1 minute rest in between each interval, so it meant that the 500, the 400, and the 300 were pretty difficult, especially on the way up or the way back. But the 200 and the 100 were really good. You just got to go as hard as you could, and you had theoretically enough rest to keep going and doing that again and again. So I felt like I did pretty well there. I think I ended up second there as well. The guy that came first, Jason, he's an absolute monster. And I think him and I could just kind of go like punch for punch just all day long. Our scores seem to be very, very similar, and he's an absolute savage. So I'd really like to say, do an erg next to him so we could like battle off each other rather than being thousands of miles apart and sort of, how have you done? How have you done? And that was one of the things as well where I wasn't really sure when to post my workout. Initially, I just did the 5:57 2K, posted it, and that was it. And I was about 3 days before you could actually submit it. Then I realized, well, that's giving people a target, and so you probably should go ahead and post it as late as possible. But since I'm in the UK and the competition, I think it's the west coast of the US, I was 8 hours behind. I think it's about 8 hours behind. So that meant that even if I submitted it before I went to sleep at night, it meant that someone, in theory, had 8 hours during the day to get to the score and perhaps attempt to beat it. So with the 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, I think I averaged around 124, 123, but it was brought down by the sort of the 100s and 200s. And I really like that type of workout where you end up in a hole, but it's not too far that you blow up, but it gets the heart going, gets the rate going, and really sort of fires in. And it actually did really well for the 2K prep for Paris, because we were preparing for that 2K. So it meant that we needed some high rate, high intensity work anyway, which we were doing, so it fitted in quite nicely. So what I'm going to do now is head out and head to the Yam Cave to get some steady pace in. A lovely 2 hours on the rowing machine with some Star Trek. So let's head out to the Yam Cave to get some erging. Oh yeah. And we have made it into the Yam Cave to get some steady yamming going. So set the monitor up with the Star Trek over there. We'll set the monitor up, select workout, new workout, single time. Change that to 2. Change that. So we've got a lovely 2 hour row as Charlie joins us in the Yam Cave. Lovely, nice and steady. Got my heart rate monitor on. So a little bit different to the Road Royalty workouts. But this is the whole idea, is really this type of thing will eventually lead to improvements on workouts like the Road Royalty workouts, which will also help improve, hopefully, 2K fitness, which will then hopefully be able to transfer over to water fitness. But I'll see you after the end of this, and then we'll get chatting about the other Road Royalty workouts. Oh yeah. We have finished the 2 hour erg here in the Yam Cave. Average, I'm not sure if you could see if it focuses, but 129 heart rate, maximum 145. So just as I'm losing fluid at the end of there, so my heart rate is going to drift, cardiac drift, as you lose your hydration over a long period of time. So you expect it to climb higher, but keeping the split under control. So if it is climbing too high, slow down. But also a way to combat that would be take a few seconds here or there, take 20 seconds here or there, have a little bit of a sip, or even do it mid-stroke. But I've been pretty hydrated, which a lot of people have actually been talking about, maybe not quite now, but a lot of people have been asking, how do you stay hydrated, what's the best thing? And it's not a difficult thing to do on paper. It's just a case of like fueling up properly. Again, that isn't a difficult thing to do on paper. It's just when you've got other things going on, it can be difficult to say, oh, I forgot to drink this much drink, or have this much water, or drink this much electrolyte, or whatever it is. Same with food, when you think you need this much and then you forget that you've done an extra workout and then you have to have more food, and then it all builds up. With hydration, the key is just to keep on drinking fluids, whether that's electrolytes or whether it's just water, whatever suits you, is just keep drinking fluids until your pee is clear, essentially. So that varies from person to person, what kind of work you're doing, if you sweat a lot, if you don't. Sometimes for me, like here it's quite cold in the yam cave, so I don't sweat too much, so I don't lose too much fluid. But if I'm in a hot place, I'll just have a puddle below me, and I have to make sure I'm really, really keeping an eye on my hydration. But we took a little detour there. That is the longest distance I've ever done on the rowing machine. It was last week when we did the 2 hour erg, but this week, I think that was a split and a half faster. I might have to go back and check. It was definitely faster. Was it faster? I did one at 51.9, but I don't think that was a 2 hour one. I think the last week's 53.9 was the 30k. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 32 and a little bit k is the most I've ever done in one sitting. So we're pushing the fitness on in the low intensity, and it seems to be going quite well. And that is the whole key about this, is keeping it low intensity, keeping an eye on my heart rate, keeping an eye on my level of perceived exertion. And like I said before the erg, the idea of this won't improve my 2k, this won't improve my 5k, whatever it is, the actual tests where rowing is a rowing sport, it won't improve my water speed. The idea of doing this type of mileage, this type of workout, is to enable me to surpass levels that I have already reached. So for example, my PB on my 2k, or even the Paris 2k 552, I was X amount fit at this intensity, but I was a bit unstable at the bottom, so that meant I was a bit unstable at the top. The idea is, if I can make a bit more stability at the bottom by doing this type of mileage, then I can push the level a bit higher at the high end than it previously was. Hopefully that makes sense. I've mentioned that kind of thing, that kind of analogy before, but that's just how kind of the body works, and that's just how fitness works. There are obviously other approaches to it, but that's the one I'm taking just now. Had a high intensity approach before Paris, now I've got a longer block, and we're looking at that lower intensity approach. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we will be able to get out on the water soon. Unfortunately, there was hail outside of the yam cave during this erg, and hopefully the water will be calm enough sometime soon so we can actually get out in the water and get going. So fingers crossed, Yam Squad, for that. But now we're going to head back to the house, get some fueling up, because after this, according to the watch, 1,548 calories burned just in that 2 hours. So I'm going to have to refuel that minimum today. Plus I've had weights. Plus I'm doing another 70 minutes or so tonight. And so I'm going to be having to fuel a lot up, as it always is on a Thursday, because that seems to be the longest day. So I'll be approaching more, well, it'll be more than 50k today again. But again, really important to fuel up. Really important, like a lot of the Yam Squad have been asking about. Really important to hydrate. And maybe I'll talk about this type of workout as well, what goes through my head. Maybe next week, about just the mental side of things, the other advantages doing a long erg like this gives you, rather than just the physical fitness improvements. But I've tried for enough time. Now we're going back to the house, like I said, fueling up, and we're going to discuss a little bit more about the road royalty, about the other 2 workouts that I did. Oh yeah! And we've made it back to the house post steady yamming. We've got a Tupperware of chicken and rice, absolutely delicious, for snack 1 post 2 hours on the rowing machine, and we do need a lot of fuel post rowing machine 2 hour workout. But now on to the road royalty last 2 workouts. So the third workout, after the sort of shorter sprinty workouts that happened with the first 2, we have a longer distance erg. It ended up being a 4k, rest 3 minutes, a 1k, rest 3 minutes, a 5k. And it was pretty savage. I've made the video, made the vlog for that day, and I'd labelled it as the hardest workout of the year, which I would say it definitely was. It was pretty up there, because basically you went out for 4k and it was fine, but you knew what was coming for the 1k, and then you kind of went really hard on the 1k, but you didn't want to go too hard on the 1k, and then you had 5k after that to almost hold on, and you spent most of that 5k just trying to hold on for dear life. So I think in the 1K I went about 127, but my aim to start with was going sort of 124, 125, 126. But then I went out for 500 meters at 26, and I was like, oh no, this is going to take too much out of me for this 5K. So I had to slow down a bit. So again, I ended up sort of second or third for that, and there was points for the fastest 1K and points for overall time. And again, that's where the strategy came in. Could you get points for going really fast in that 1K and push people up or down on the score sheet, but then your overall time might be slower, so it's a fine balance, and that's where you have to kind of strategize for yourself. And that's really kind of what I've been learning with this online rowing competition. And lastly, the fourth workout, actually, even though it was the simplest workout of the bunch, I enjoyed it the most. Not because it was especially difficult. It was just one of those workouts where I sat down and I was like, I'm good to go in this one. I didn't go flat out because I knew at this point, using strategy, I knew at this point, even if I won, I was too far behind first place to change my positioning. And I think I ended up coming second anyway. So I stayed where I was, but I really enjoyed this workout because just post Paris, I had a little bit of, I had a taper for Paris anyway. A 2K in Paris on the Saturday, and then Sunday off, and then Monday we did the 10 minutes for distance. And so I ended up doing a sort of 133 something average, and the winner, Yam, you don't eat the food. Let's see Yam. Yam, come here. He's a big boy. We'll see you at the end of the video. Come here, Yam. Good boy. There you go. That's it. Good boy. And so it was 10 minutes for distance. Ended up second. And I was thinking about 133 or so. Oh, he's a good boy. We're 133? So I ended up at 133 or so. And again, not flat out, but it was a good workout where I was like, I'm in control here and I can keep moving. So that's kind of my experience with Road Royalty online rowing competition, and I really recommend doing it. So hopefully you get the opportunity, Yam Squad, to do it next year. Maybe we'll make a Yam Squad team and see how we can do, but I'd really like to do it next year. And of course as well, the benefit of yamming on it hard enough, you get a cash prize. So hopefully this could be a target for you guys next year. If you train hard enough now, get into some scores, get into some good work this year, next year you could have a monetary challenge, a monetary goal to keep you motivated, perhaps, if that's what motivates you. But that will be it for today's episode of Yam Squad, as Yam takes a little seat, a little lie down. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I had an interesting 2 hours on the machine today. Like I said, it's going well, and hopefully that is improving well, I say hopefully, that will be improving the base, the aerobic base, but it is a long slog to, it's not even pushing it down, it's just letting it come down as my body adjusts to getting fitter, if that makes sense. But let me know if you, Yam Squad, would like to even participate in an online rowing competition, perhaps a Yam Squad online rowing competition, because I had so much fun doing it with the Road Royalty people, but they're only doing sort of one a year. So I'd really like to do one and offer not just the Yam Squad, but the rowing world, prizes or something to motivate them to see how fast they can go on the rowing machine. So that's something to look forward to as well, Yam Squad. Hopefully it comes around sometime, but as always, that's a future Yam Squad to look forward to. And as always, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, and I will see you, what day is this? This is Thursday. So I'll see you on Friday for the next episode of the vlogs. Oh yeah!